The night sky above the Atacama Desert held secrets that most of humanity would never understand. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted the quantum resonance array, her fingers moving with the precision of a concert pianist and the intensity of a warrior. The massive radio telescope array stretched across the desert landscape like mechanical sentinels, each dish capturing whispers from the depths of space. Elena wasn't like most astronomers. Where others saw stars and distant galaxies, she perceived patterns, intricate, almost living networks of information that most scientists dismissed as background noise. Her latest research focused on solar wind interference patterns, a project that had earned her both ridicule and fascination from her peers at the International Solar Observation Center. The computer screens before her flickered with a constellation of data points. Unusual electromagnetic signatures danced across the displays, creating geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with an almost sentient rhythm. Elena leaned closer, her dark eyes reflecting the green and blue light of the monitors. Something was different tonight. Thousands of kilometers away, in a cramped Mumbai apartment, 17-year-old Arjun Mehta was lost in his own world. Headphones covered his ears, blocking out the sounds of the bustling city outside. His fingers flew across a custom-built keyboard, lines of code streaming faster than most professional hackers could comprehend. What began as a hobby, creating an advanced network monitoring system, had become something far more complex. Arjun's system was unlike anything developed by government agencies or tech corporations. Born with a rare form of synesthesia that allowed him to perceive digital information as vibrant, almost musical patterns, he had designed an AI-driven network that could detect the most minute anomalies in global communication systems. What started as a way to win online gaming competitions had evolved into something far more significant. Back in the Atacama, Elena's quantum array suddenly erupted with activity. The normally steady streams of data became a chaotic symphony of interference. She had seen solar flares, electromagnetic storms, even the occasional satellite malfunction. But this was different. The pattern suggested something impossible. A massive energy disruption emerging from beyond the solar system, approaching Earth with calculated precision. Her hands moved quickly, initiating a series of cross-referencing protocols. University supercomputers around the world began to receive her data packets, triggering automated analysis systems. Something was coming. In orbit, undetected by most of humanity's surveillance systems, the Zornak invasion fleet assembled with clinical precision. The Void's Talon, flagship of Admiral Krelax, represented the pinnacle of galactic conquest technology. Its quantum-fold drives could traverse entire star systems in moments. Its energy weapons could reduce continents to molten glass. Admiral Krelax reviewed the invasion protocols with the detached efficiency of a being who had conquered countless civilizations. Humanity was just another entry in the Zornak Confederation's expansive database, a primitive species barely capable of interplanetary travel, let alone serious resistance. Their strategies had been developed and refined over millennia, each conquest a testament to their technological and strategic superiority. The invasion plan was elegant in its simplicity. A massive electromagnetic pulse would disable global communication networks. Simultaneously, quantum-fold dropships would deploy across major population centers. Resistance would be minimal, surrender immediate. The entire operation was projected to take less than 72 hours. What the Zornak didn't know was that their approach was already being tracked. In Mumbai, Arjun's monitoring system began to light up. Unusual network behaviors, inexplicable communication interruptions, massive energy signatures that didn't match any known satellite or terrestrial technology. His fingers danced across the keyboard, his synesthetic perception turning the digital anomalies into a complex, almost musical composition of impending danger. Elena Rodriguez made a final adjustment to the quantum array. Something was coming. Something unprecedented. The first quantum fold rupture occurred precisely at 2347 Greenwich Mean Time. Most of humanity would be asleep, unaware of the massive ships emerging from the fabric of space-time. The Zornak believed this would ensure a swift, unopposed invasion. They were wrong. As the first alien vessels breached Earth's atmosphere, two individuals, a scientist in the Chilean desert and a teenage hacker in a Mumbai apartment, were already setting in motion a response that would redefine the concept of resistance. The invasion had begun, but humanity's true strength was about to be revealed. The first Zornak energy weapons struck with surgical precision. Sao Paulo disappeared in a catastrophic flash of emerald light, its skyscrapers vaporizing into clouds of superheated plasma. Tokyo's defense systems lasted mere minutes, reduced to molten wreckage before most of its inhabitants could comprehend the attack. Captain Maria Santos watched from the Petrobras offshore drilling platform Horizon 7, located 300 kilometers off the Brazilian coast. Her team of 87 oil rig workers had become an unexpected first line of defense. The platform, designed to withstand extreme oceanic conditions, now faced a threat beyond any engineering specification. "Comms are down," shouted Miguel, the platform's chief communications officer. His fingers danced across emergency radio systems, desperately trying to establish any form of contact with the mainland. "Nothing but static and energy signatures we've never seen before." Maria's military training, 15 years in Brazilian special forces, including counterterrorism and advanced tactical response, kicked into overdrive. She'd seen chaos before, but nothing prepared her for this moment. The sky above them burned with unnatural colors, alien ships casting shadows that defied conventional physics. "Listen up," her voice cut through the growing panic. "We're not sitting ducks. We have resources, we have each other, and we're not going down without a fight." The Horizon 7 was more than just an oil extraction platform. It was a floating industrial complex with massive compressed gas tanks, advanced hydraulic systems, and equipment designed to operate in some of the most hostile environments on the planet. Where military bases fell, this collection of engineers, technicians, and workers would become an unexpected arsenal. Admiral Krelax watched the invasion unfold from the Void's talon. Holographic displays showed the systematic destruction of human infrastructure. Cities collapsed, military bases were neutralized, communication networks shredded. It was precision warfare, a dance of technological superiority that had worked countless times across the galaxy. Yet something felt different about this invasion. Aboard the platform, Maria gathered her team. Engineers, welders, mechanics, and former military personnel from diverse backgrounds united under a single purpose. Carlos, a former Brazilian Air Force mechanic, was already examining the platform's massive compressed gas tanks. "We can modify these," he said, his hands moving quickly. "Transform them into something the aliens won't expect." Miguel interrupted, his face pale but determined. "I'm picking up fragmented communications. Other offshore platforms, isolated communities, they're all experiencing the same thing. Total communication blackout, except for brief encrypted bursts." The first improvised weapon took shape rapidly. Compressed gas tanks, modified rocket fuel systems from emergency response equipment, and the platform's industrial welding capabilities combined into something between a missile launcher and an industrial nightmare. Admiral Krelax's tactical algorithms couldn't comprehend the developing scenario. Human military doctrine suggested immediate surrender when facing such overwhelming technological superiority. Instead, these offshore workers were transforming their industrial platform into a weapon. The first volley launched as the alien dropships approached. 3 massive compressed gas tanks, modified with makeshift propulsion systems, screamed through the atmosphere. The projectiles weren't sophisticated. They were raw, industrial, unpredictable. 3 alien dropships exploded in spectacular fashion. The Zornak command structure trembled. This wasn't in any predictive model. Humans were supposed to be a primitive species, easily conquered. Yet here was a team of oil rig workers turning industrial equipment into weapons of war. Maria Santos watched the alien ships fall, a grim smile crossing her face. They picked the wrong planet to invade. Across the globe, similar stories were unfolding. A research station in Antarctica repurposed scientific equipment into defensive systems. A group of miners in the Australian outback turned their drilling vehicles into improvised tanks. In the Amazon, indigenous communities used centuries of survival knowledge to become the most unexpected resistance fighters. The invasion had begun, but humanity's response would be anything but predictable. Aboard the Void's Talon, Admiral Krelax reviewed the initial assault data. For the first time in a millennium of galactic conquests, a single word emerged in the tactical analysis that had never appeared before: unexpected. The global communication blackout was supposed to be the Zornak's greatest weapon. Instead, it became humanity's most powerful tool of resistance. Dr. Yuki Tanaka hunched over a jury-rigged communications array in the basement of Tokyo University's engineering department. Around her, a diverse group of researchers, students, and tech enthusiasts worked with frantic determination. Broken smartphones, salvaged satellite equipment, and custom-built electronics covered every available surface. "We're creating a mesh network," Yuki explained to a group of wide-eyed graduate students. "Traditional communication infrastructure is destroyed, so we'll build our own from the ground up." Arjun Mehta's earlier network monitoring system became the backbone of their resistance. From his Mumbai apartment, he had already begun distributing encrypted communication protocols through unexpected channels. Online gaming servers, cryptocurrency networks, and even smart home device communication loops became conduits for a global resistance. In the United States, a collaborative effort emerged that defied traditional military hierarchy. A group of Silicon Valley engineers worked alongside retired military strategists, competitive gamers, and emergency response specialists. Their communication hub was a repurposed data center, now transformed into a nerve center of human resistance. Jack Reynolds, a 62-year-old retired Special Forces operator, stood next to Zara Kim, a 24-year-old esports team strategist. Their unlikely partnership represented the new face of human resistance. Their tactical systems rely on predictable communication patterns, Zara explained, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic displays. "We'll give them chaos." The resistance began to take shape through seemingly random, interconnected actions. A group of programmers in Berlin developed viruses designed to infiltrate alien communication systems. Indigenous tracking experts in the Amazon provided real-time movement data through encrypted shortwave radio networks. A collective of street artists in New York began creating massive urban installations that doubled as communication and tracking points. Aboard the Void's Talon, the Zornak intelligence systems began to malfunction. Their carefully constructed invasion algorithms couldn't process the emerging human network. Where they expected centralized resistance, they found a Hydra-like system of communication. Cut off one channel, and two more would emerge. Elena Rodriguez's quantum research became unexpectedly crucial. The electromagnetic interference patterns she had been studying provided insights into how to disrupt alien communication technologies. Her team at the Atacama Observatory began developing counter-frequency technologies that could potentially blind the alien invasion force. "It's not about fighting them with their technology," Elena told her research team. "It's about understanding the fundamental ways they process information and then completely subverting those expectations." In Australia, a group of mining engineers and indigenous trackers developed a unique resistance strategy. Using a combination of traditional tracking skills and advanced geological survey technologies, they began mapping alien movement patterns. Their communication was so localized and context-specific that alien intelligence systems couldn't decode their messages. The resistance wasn't just technological, it was cultural. A viral social media campaign transformed the invasion into a global collaborative effort. Memes became a form of psychological warfare. Crowdsourced intelligence networks proved more accurate and adaptable than any centralized system. The aliens watched in growing confusion as humanity transformed a potential extinction event into a species-wide collaborative game. Arjun's distributed computing network became the nervous system of this resistance. What began as a personal project now connected millions of computers, smartphones, and other devices into a living, breathing intelligence network. Gaming communities, scientific research groups, and random internet collectives became unexpected nodes of resistance. "They think we're weak because we're divided," Jack Reynolds said, reviewing the emerging resistance maps. "They don't understand that our diversity is our strength." The Zornak had conquered hundreds of civilizations. They had faced unified military powers, technologically advanced species, even collective consciousnesses. But they had never encountered a species that could turn chaos into a weapon of war. Aboard the Void's Talon, Admiral Krelax reviewed the developing situation. For the first time in a millennium of galactic conquests, the word unpredictable began to replace inevitable in their tactical assessments. Humanity was no longer just resisting. They were reimagining the very concept of resistance. The Amazon rainforest became an unexpected battleground that the Zornak could never have anticipated. Where most invading forces would see only dense vegetation and isolated communities, the indigenous tribes saw an intricate living network of resistance. Chief Antonio Moreno of the Kayapo people studied the alien movement patterns with eyes that had tracked prey through these forests for generations. His people had survived centuries of invasions, Portuguese colonizers, rubber barons, logging companies. An alien invasion was just another challenge to overcome. "They move in straight lines," Antonio explained to his warriors, pointing at the alien troop movement maps they had carefully constructed. "Machines think in grids. We think in life." The Kayapo began a campaign of environmental warfare that defied all traditional military strategies. They used millennia of ecological knowledge to transform the rainforest into a living weapon. Carefully engineered mud traps, bioengineered plant toxins, and sound-based communication systems that could guide or mislead alien reconnaissance became their primary tools. Simultaneously, in Tokyo, a different form of resistance was taking shape. Naoko Sato, a renowned performance artist, had turned the alien invasion into the most elaborate art project in human history. Her collective of artists, musicians, and digital creators began weaponizing culture itself. "Art is information," Naoko proclaimed to her team, "and information can be a weapon." They began broadcasting massive electromagnetic art installations that doubled as communication disruptors. Street performances created complex movement patterns that confused alien tracking systems. Digital art became a form of psychological warfare, projecting images and sounds designed to overwhelm alien sensory inputs. In the streets of Mumbai, Bollywood film studios transformed their production capabilities into resistance centers. They began producing rapid response media content, short films, music videos, and digital art pieces that were simultaneously entertainment and tactical communication tools. The alien forces found themselves bombarded by cultural signals they couldn't comprehend. Arjun Mehta's network played a crucial role. His distributed communication system allowed these cultural resistance movements to coordinate in ways no centralized military could achieve. A dance performance in Rio could simultaneously provide tactical information to resistance groups in Antarctica. The stand-up comedy clubs of New York became an unexpected front in the psychological warfare. Comedians began developing material specifically designed to be broadcast to alien communication channels. Their jokes were carefully engineered to create cognitive dissonance in the clinical, logic-driven alien intelligence systems. "Humor is the ultimate human weapon," proclaimed Marcus Rodriguez, a veteran comedian who had quickly become a key strategist in the cultural resistance. "We can make something that's completely illogical seem not just acceptable, but hilarious." Aboard the Void's Talon, the Zornak intelligence systems began to malfunction. Their tactical algorithms, designed to process linear, logical information, couldn't handle the chaotic, multilayered human cultural responses. In the Australian outback, indigenous tracking teams developed a communication system so contextual and location-specific that it became impossible for alien translation systems to decode. They used a combination of traditional sign language, environmental markers, and sound-based communication that rendered alien surveillance technologies useless. Chief Antonio's Kayapa warriors weren't just fighting. They were teaching the aliens a fundamental lesson about survival. Each trap, each ecological manipulation was a lesson in adaptability. The rainforest itself became a living, breathing resistance movement. The viral nature of human culture became the most powerful weapon. Memes spread faster than alien communication systems could track. Social media became a distributed intelligence network that could mobilize millions in moments. The line between entertainment, communication, and warfare disappeared completely. Admiral Krelax watched in growing confusion. Every tactical model suggested that a species this diverse, this seemingly chaotic, should have collapsed under the first wave of invasion. Instead, they were transforming the very concept of resistance. They're not fighting. One of the Zornak tactical analysts noted, they're playing. And in that observation lay the most terrifying revelation about humanity. They weren't just resisting. They were reimagining the entire concept of conflict. The cultural warfare had begun, and humanity was just getting started. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology looked less like a prestigious research center and more like a war room. Laboratories that once pursued pure scientific research now burned with an intensity of purpose that would have seemed impossible weeks ago. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of a makeshift command center, her quantum research becoming the cornerstone of humanity's technological resistance. We're not just reverse engineering, she told a group of researchers from disciplines that would have never collaborated before. We're completely reimagining their technology. Captured alien equipment lay dissected across multiple workstations. Physicists worked alongside material scientists. Computer engineers collaborated with linguists, and quantum researchers partnered with mechanical engineers. The traditional boundaries of scientific disciplines had dissolved in the face of the alien threat. In a basement lab, Dr. Kai Chen, a quantum computing specialist, made a breakthrough that would change everything. The alien communication systems used a quantum entanglement protocol that was supposed to be unbreakable. But humans didn't play by the rules. They use quantum communication like a precise language, Kai explained to his team. We're going to turn it into a creative medium. Meanwhile, in Silicon Valley, a group of tech engineers and former military personnel had transformed an abandoned server farm into the most advanced technological warfare center in human history. Led by Maya Rodriguez, no relation to Elena, but equally brilliant, they were developing something unprecedented. Arjun Mehta's distributed network became the nervous system of their operation. What began as a personal project now connected millions of computers into a living, breathing intelligence network. Gaming communities, scientific research groups, and random internet collectives became unexpected nodes of technological resistance. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A group of teenage gamers discovered that the alien technological systems had a fundamental vulnerability in their communication protocols. What the aliens saw as a perfect, mathematically precise system, the gamers saw as a puzzle waiting to be solved. It's like a really complex multiplayer game, said Zura Kim, the sports strategist who had become a key technological warfare coordinator. And we're really good at solving complex games. Captured alien fighters were being transformed at an unprecedented rate. A dropship that landed intact became a collaborative project between MIT researchers, indigenous engineers from Brazil, and a collective of online technology enthusiasts. They didn't just study the technology, they reimagined it. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum research proved crucial. The electromagnetic interference patterns she had been studying provided insights into how to not just disable, but completely reprogram alien technological systems. Her team developed a method to understand the quantum resonance of alien technology, creating tools that could penetrate and manipulate their most advanced systems. In Tokyo, a team of robotics engineers hijacked construction mechs, turning them into improvised battle suits. In the African Union's technology corridor, Programmers developed viruses that could penetrate alien computer systems with surgical precision. The Zornak had conquered hundreds of civilizations. They had faced technologically advanced species, collective consciousnesses, even entire galactic federations, but they had never encountered a species that could turn their own technology against them with such rapid, creative adaptation. Aboard the Void's Talon, the alien command structure began to experience system-wide failures. Their supposedly impenetrable communication networks started to behave in ways that defied all logical understanding. "They're not just breaking our systems," a Zornak tactical analyst noted with growing concern. "They're rewriting the fundamental rules of how technology should work." The collaborative nature of human technological adaptation became their greatest strength. A virus developed by a teenager in Mumbai could be refined by researchers in Sao Paulo and implemented by engineers in Toronto, all within hours. Maya Rodriguez looked at the transformed alien dropship, now barely recognizable from its original form. "They thought technology was a fixed set of rules," she said to her team. "We know technology is just another form of creativity." Each captured piece of alien technology became a lesson, a puzzle, a challenge. Where the Zornak saw fixed systems, humans saw infinite possibilities. The technological metamorphosis had begun, and humanity was just getting started. The detention center was unlike any the Zornak had established on conquered worlds. What was supposed to be a holding facility for human prisoners had become something entirely unexpected. Marcus Rodriguez, the veteran comedian turned psychological warfare specialist, sat in a cell surrounded by other captives, a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced to his fellow prisoners, "we're about to turn this detention center into the most elaborate comedy club in the galaxy." The Zornak interrogation protocols were designed to break individual resistance. They had perfected psychological manipulation techniques across hundreds of conquered civilizations. Humans, they believed, would be their easiest conquest yet. They were monumentally wrong. Dr. Samira Khan, a cognitive psychologist who had been captured during the initial invasion, began developing a communication system that the aliens couldn't comprehend. It wasn't just language. It was a multi-layered form of communication that incorporated humor, metaphor, emotional nuance, and cultural context that defied any standard translation matrix. In the detention center, prisoners began to transform their imprisonment into a collaborative performance. Musicians composed songs that doubled as encrypted communication. Artists created visual codes within their drawings. Comedians developed routines that were simultaneously entertainment and psychological warfare. Marcus Rodriguez's first stand-up routine to the alien guards became legendary. "So," he began, looking directly at the bewildered alien interrogators, "you guys traveled across the galaxy to invade us, and the best landing spot you could find was next to a bunch of people who once survived reality television. Bold move." The alien interrogation systems began to malfunction. Their psychological analysis algorithms couldn't process human humor, sarcasm, or the complex emotional landscapes that humans navigated with ease. What was meant to be an interrogation became a masterclass in human psychological complexity. Aboard the Void's Talon, the Zornak's psychological warfare experts experienced unprecedented system failures. Their databases, filled with psychological profiles from hundreds of conquered civilizations, became useless against human unpredictability. In another part of the detention center, Dr. Samira Khan was developing something revolutionary. She discovered that human emotional responses created quantum-level interference patterns that the alien systems couldn't predict or understand. Emotions weren't a weakness. They were a sophisticated communication and survival mechanism. "Emotions are not irrational," she explained to her fellow prisoners. "They're advanced computational systems that have evolved over millions of years. We're not just feeling. We're processing information in ways these aliens can't comprehend." The Resistance's psychological warfare went far beyond the detention centers. Social media became a weapon. Meme warfare reached unprecedented levels of sophistication. What looked like simple internet humor to an outside observer was actually a complex, globally distributed intelligence network. Arjun Mehta's communication network played a crucial role. His distributed system allowed psychological resistance to spread faster than any traditional communication method. A joke created in a New York comedy club could be transformed and distributed globally within minutes, each iteration adding layers of meaning and resistance. The Zornak began to experience something they had never encountered before: cognitive dissonance on a species-wide level. Their clinical, logic-driven intelligence systems couldn't process the multilayered human psychological responses. Captain Maria Santos, who had been captured during the offshore platform resistance, used her military training in a way no conventional soldier ever had. She turned the detention center into a training ground, teaching fellow prisoners how to resist through psychological manipulation, humor, and unexpected emotional responses. "They expect us to break," she told her fellow prisoners. "We're going to show them we can turn breaking into an art form." The detention center became something between a comedy club, a psychological research facility, and a resistance training ground. Prisoners shared stories, developed communication codes, and transformed their imprisonment into a collaborative performance of human resilience. Marcus Rodriguez's comedy routines became a form of psychological encryption. Each joke contained layers of meaning, communication codes, emotional resistance, and pure, unbridled human creativity. The alien interrogators found themselves more confused after each interaction. Imagine spending millennia conquering civilizations, Marcus would joke, only to get stumped by a bunch of humans who can turn psychological warfare into stand-up comedy. Aboard the Void's Talon, the Zornak leadership watched in growing confusion. Their psychological warfare systems, which had worked on hundreds of civilizations, were completely ineffective against human unpredictability. Humanity wasn't just resisting. They were reimagining the very concept of psychological warfare. The final battle would not be fought like any war in human history. Captain Maria Santos stood at the helm of a strike team that defied every conventional military concept. Behind her, a group that looked more like a bizarre collaborative art project than a military unit prepared for what would become the most important mission in human history. There was Dr. Elena Rodriguez, her quantum research equipment strapped to her back like unconventional battle gear. Beside her, Marcus Rodriguez, the comedian turned psychological warfare specialist, checked a series of custom-built communication devices. Arjun Mehta monitored a network of distributed computing systems that stretched across multiple continents. A team of indigenous trackers from the Amazon worked alongside robotics engineers from Tokyo, creating a battle plan that was part scientific calculation, part cultural performance. Chief Antonio Moreno from the Kayapo tribe studied holographic maps of the Zornak mothership, his fingers tracing potential infiltration routes with the same precision he once used to track prey through the rainforest. Zara Kim, the sports strategist, was developing tactical approaches that merged gaming strategy with military precision. The target was the Void's Talon, the massive Zornak flagship that had orchestrated the initial invasion. But this wouldn't be a conventional assault. This would be a multi-dimensional attack that would challenge every concept of warfare the aliens understood. Arjun's distributed network became the nervous system of the operation. Millions of computers, gaming consoles, smartphones, and improvised communication devices formed a living, breathing intelligence network. Each device was both a weapon and a communication node, creating a level of coordination that the Zornak could never comprehend. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's quantum research provided the initial breakthrough. She had discovered a fundamental resonance in the alien communication systems, a quantum-level vulnerability that could be exploited. Her team had developed a series of interference protocols that could potentially disable the entire alien command structure. "It's not about destroying their systems," Elena explained to the strike team. "It's about making them completely incomprehensible to themselves." The first wave of the attack was entirely digital. Arjun's network launched a series of coordinated cyber attacks that were simultaneously viruses, art installations, and communication systems. Memes became weapons. Encrypted communication channels transformed into psychological warfare tools. Marcus Rodriguez had prepared a series of communication broadcasts designed to create maximum cognitive dissonance. Stand-up comedy routines, encrypted messages, and psychological manipulation techniques were bundled into data packets that would be broadcast directly into the alien communication systems. The indigenous tracking teams from the Amazon provided real-time movement data through a communication system so contextual and location-specific that it rendered alien surveillance technologies useless. Each piece of information was a multi-layered puzzle that could only be understood through a deeply collaborative human perspective. As they approached the Void's Talon, the strike team's unconventional nature became their greatest weapon. A captured alien dropship, now completely reimagined and retrofitted, served as their primary infiltration vehicle. It had been transformed so thoroughly that it would be unrecognizable to its original creators. Maya Rodriguez's team of engineers had turned the dropship into a living piece of technological art. Parts of the alien technology had been repurposed in ways that defied logical understanding. It was part spacecraft, part communication device, part performance piece. The attack began with a series of coordinated actions that seemed completely random to the Zornak systems. A viral social media campaign in New York created movement patterns that confused alien tracking systems. A sound installation in Tokyo generated electromagnetic interference. The Amazon rainforest itself became a tactical weapon, with carefully engineered ecological responses that disrupted alien movement. Aboard the Void's Talon, the alien command structure experienced total system failure. Their tactical algorithms, designed to process linear, logical information, couldn't handle the multilayered, context-rich human assault. Captain Maria Santos watched as the alien mothership began to lose coherence. It wasn't just a military victory. It was a fundamental challenge to the aliens' understanding of conflict, communication, and intelligence. "We're not just fighting," Maria said to her team. "We're showing them an entirely new way of existing." The turning point had arrived. Humanity wasn't just resisting. They were rewriting the very rules of engagement. The aftermath of the invasion transformed human civilization in ways no one could have predicted. The Void's Talon, once the most feared battleship in the Zornak Confederation, now hung in Earth's orbit, a massive, incomprehensible monument to human ingenuity. Admiral Krelax sat in a specially designed containment facility, the sole surviving high-ranking Zornak officer. Researchers from around the world studied the alien leader with a mixture of scientific curiosity and cautious respect. Dr. Samira Khan led the psychological analysis team, her expertise in cross-cultural communication proving invaluable. "You cannot comprehend," Krelax repeated during each interview, a phrase that had become both a challenge and a testament to human achievement. Universities around the world began developing entirely new interdisciplinary programs. The invasion response methodology became a field of study that merged psychology, engineering, art, communication, and strategic thinking. Traditional academic boundaries dissolved, replaced by a collaborative approach that mirrored the resistance that had saved humanity. Elena Rodriguez received a Nobel Prize, not just for her quantum research, but for demonstrating how scientific innovation could be a form of global communication. Her work became the foundation for a new understanding of information theory that extended far beyond human technology. Arjun Mehta, once a teenage hacker in Mumbai, became a global leader in distributed network technologies. His communication systems were now studied as a breakthrough in collective intelligence, transforming how humanity understood collaboration and information sharing. The global response to the invasion had permanently altered human social structures. Nations that had previously been in conflict now shared research, technology, and cultural insights. The shared experience of resistance had created a level of global unity that no diplomatic effort had ever achieved. Captain Maria Santos became the director of a new global defense initiative that was anything but a traditional military organization. It was a collaborative network that merged military strategy, scientific research, artistic innovation, and cultural understanding. In the Amazon, Chief Antonio Marinho's indigenous community became a global center for ecological and strategic innovation. Their traditional knowledge, which had proven crucial during the invasion, was now recognized as a sophisticated form of systems thinking. The captured Zornak technology became a catalyst for human advancement. But unlike previous technological discoveries, this was approached as a collaborative, creative process. Engineering labs, art studios, indigenous knowledge centers, and research universities worked together to understand and reimagine the alien technology. Marcus Rodriguez's psychological warfare techniques became a field of study in their own right. Universities developed programs exploring how humor, creativity, and emotional intelligence could be powerful tools of communication and conflict resolution. The Zornak Confederation, once the most feared conquering force in the galaxy, became a case study in the limitations of purely logical, hierarchical thinking. Galactic research centers studied the human invasion response as a fundamental challenge to their understanding of intelligence and conflict. Admiral Krelax, in his final interview, provided the most profound insight. "We studied your species for centuries," he told the researchers. "We believed we understood you. We were wrong about everything." The alien mothership became an international research center, a symbol of human collaboration. Part museum, part research facility, part art installation, it represented the multidimensional approach that had saved humanity. Global communication systems were redesigned based on the lessons learned during the invasion. Arjun Mehta's distributed network became the model for a new type of global communication that valued diversity, creativity, and collective intelligence. Universities around the world began teaching a new approach to problem solving. The invasion response curriculum emphasized adaptability, creative thinking, and collaborative innovation. Traditional subjects were reimagined, breaking down the barriers between art, science, technology, and culture. Elena Rodriguez looked at the transformed global landscape and saw something beautiful. Humanity had not just survived an alien invasion, they had used the experience to reimagine themselves. "We didn't just defend ourselves," she told a group of young researchers. "We discovered who we could be." The Zornak invasion had become more than a moment of conflict. It was a catalyst for human evolution, not just technological or scientific, but cultural and philosophical. Humanity looked to the stars, no longer with fear, but with an unquenchable curiosity and a newfound confidence in their unique approach to challenges. The universe would never be the same.